My name is Kiara Jackson, and I'm 33 years old. 6 months ago, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, watching my parents calmly hand my sister everything: the house, the family business, the trust fund, while I was left with nothing. "You've always been difficult, Kiara," my mother said, her voice flat and final. My sister Natalie smiled. The lawyer didn't say a word. I stood up, looked straight at Natalie, and walked out without saying goodbye. Last week, my phone exploded with 47 missed calls. When I finally picked up, my mother was crying so hard she could barely speak. "The FBI just showed up at Natalie's house," she hiccuped. "They're talking about embezzlement, money laundering. Kiara, what did she do with the money?" I hadn't touched a single dollar, but my sister, the one who was given everything, had made choices that were about to cost her far more than she ever imagined. Before I tell you how we got here, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly speaks to you. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up, I was always the outsider in my own family. Natalie was 4 years older than me, and as far back as I can remember, she was the center of everything. Everyone revolved around her. When she graduated high school, my parents threw a huge party. Over 100 guests, music, speeches, the works. 4 years later, when I graduated with honors, we went to dinner at Applebee's. Just the four of us. When Natalie chose to stay home and help with the family business, my father's small woodworking company, my parents bought her a brand new Honda and helped her rent a beautiful apartment downtown. When I told them I had been accepted into Eastbridge University to study accounting, my mother sighed. "We can't help with tuition, Kiara. You understand, right?" I understood. I took out student loans, worked 2 jobs, and graduated with a 3.8 GPA. My parents didn't come to my graduation. "We can't leave the business for an entire weekend," my mother explained over the phone. "Natalie can't manage everything on her own." That same weekend, Natalie posted photos from a wine tasting trip. I moved to Charlotte, earned my CPA license, and started working at a mid-sized accounting firm. I paid off my loans dollar by dollar, completely on my own. I still called home every Sunday. I mailed birthday cards. I showed up for holidays whenever I could afford the flight. But every conversation felt exactly the same. "How's Natalie?" my mother would ask before I even finished saying hello. "She's working so hard at the company." Then, almost as an afterthought, "And you? How are you, Kiara?" "I'm fine, Mom." "That's good," she'd say. "You know, Natalie really needs more help. She's doing everything on her own." The message was never subtle. Natalie sacrificed. Natalie stayed. Natalie mattered. I was just the one who left. 2 years before that meeting with the lawyer, I tried to help. My mother called me in a panic about tax deadlines. "Kiara, you're an accountant," she said. "Can you look at our books? We're really behind." I flew home that weekend, paying for the ticket myself. I sat at the kitchen table, spreadsheets open, receipts spread everywhere. That's when something didn't feel right. Over the past year, there had been several large cash withdrawals, almost $95,000 in total. No invoices, no explanations, just vague, miscellaneous expenses written in Natalie's handwriting. I found my mother in the living room. "Mom, I need to ask about these withdrawals," I said. "Where did this money go?" Her expression hardened instantly. "That's company business, Kiara." "I know," I said carefully. "But if the Federal Revenue Bureau ever audits you, they'll need documentation. You have to show where that money went." Natalie walked in then, arms crossed. "Are you seriously digging through our private finances?" "Mom asked me to help with taxes," I said. "Helping with taxes doesn't mean interrogating us," Natalie snapped. "You don't work here. You don't get to tell us how to run things." I kept my voice steady. "I'm just saying, if they ask, you need records. That money has to be accounted for. It's a legal requirement." My mother stood up. "This is exactly why we don't ask you for help anymore, Kiara," she said sharply. "You always find problems. You always make everything complicated." "I'm trying to protect you." We don't need your lectures, Natalie cut in. We've been running this business for 20 years. I think we know what we're doing. I closed my laptop. Okay, I said quietly. I was just trying to help. My mother's tone softened, but her words still stung. You mean well, Kiara, she said. But you're always so paranoid. Everything's fine. I flew back to Charlotte the next morning. I never brought it up again. Then, one Tuesday morning in March, an email appeared in my inbox. Subject, family meeting, attendance required. From Samuel Whitaker, attorney at law. Dear Kiara Jackson, your parents have requested a family meeting to discuss important estate matters. Your presence is required on Friday, March 15th at 10 a.m. at my office in Cary, North Carolina. Please confirm your attendance. I stared at the screen. Estate matters. My father was 66 and in good health. My mother was barely 63. Why were we suddenly talking about estates? I texted Natalie. Do you know what this meeting is about? 3 hours passed. No reply. That evening, I called my mother. Mom, I got an email from a lawyer. What's going on? Is someone sick? No one's sick, she said briskly. We just need to discuss some family business. Can you make it Friday? I'll have to take time off work, I said. Can you tell me what this is about? Friday at 10, she replied. Kiara, don't be late. Then she hung up. I booked a flight, requested the day off, and tried calling Natalie again. Voicemail. On the plane, my mind wouldn't stop spinning. Maybe they were finally setting up proper retirement accounts. Maybe they wanted to talk about selling the business. Maybe. And that thought made my chest tighten. Maybe they had finally acknowledged what Grandma Evelyn's will actually said. She had passed away 5 years earlier, leaving behind a trust she'd built carefully over decades. At the funeral, I remembered her lawyer mentioning something about equal distribution between both granddaughters. But my parents had handled everything, and I'd been too overwhelmed with grief to ask questions. Maybe now, finally, they were ready to make things right. I should have known better. Samuel Whitaker's office sat in a modest brick building just off Canyon Road. I arrived 10 minutes early, my hands cold despite the mild spring air. The receptionist barely looked up. Jackson meeting, conference room B, she said. They're already inside. Already inside? Of course they were. I walked down the hallway, my footsteps swallowed by thick carpet. Through the glass panel, I saw them. My parents. Natalie. All seated around a polished wooden table, laughing at something the lawyer had just said. Coffee cups in front of them, a neat stack of documents laid out between them. No one had waited for me. I opened the door. 4 heads turned. Kiara, you made it, my father said. Not happy to see you. Not thanks for coming, just a statement of fact. Hi, Dad, Mom, Natalie. My mother gave a brief nod. Natalie offered a small smile that never reached her eyes. Samuel Whitaker stood and extended his hand. Ms. Jackson, please have a seat. He gestured to the chair farthest from everyone else. I sat down at the opposite end of the table. In front of my parents and Natalie were neatly organized folders, clearly prepared ahead of time. In front of me, nothing. Just an empty stretch of polished wood. Would you like some coffee? The lawyer asked. No, thank you. He settled back into his chair, adjusting his reading glasses. My mother and Natalie exchanged a look I couldn't quite read. My father stared down at his folder, silent as always. The room felt cold, even with the heating vent humming above us. Through the window, I could see people walking by, grabbing coffee, living ordinary lives. Inside that room, it felt like a courtroom where the verdict had already been decided. I just didn't know what I'd been found guilty of yet. Samuel Whitaker cleared his throat and opened the top folder. Thank you all for coming, he said evenly. We're here today to finalize the distribution of family assets, as requested by Leonard and Yolanda Jackson. He glanced at my parents. They nodded. My stomach tightened. Let's begin, he continued, reading from the document. The family residence located at 915 Willow Ridge Drive, currently valued at approximately $1.25 million, will be transferred to Natalie Jackson. I blinked. That was the house I grew up in. The house where Grandma Evelyn had lived with us before she passed away. The family business, Jackson Artisan Works, including all assets, inventory, and existing client contracts, will also be transferred to Natalie Jackson. Natalie reached for her coffee, her expression carefully neutral. Additionally, Whitaker continued, the family trust fund, currently valued at $860,000, will be placed under Natalie Jackson's sole management and ownership. The room felt like it tilted. I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself. Whitaker turned the page. And for Kiara Jackson. He paused, eyes scanning the page. No assets have been designated at this time. The silence that followed was deafening. I found my voice, though it came out smaller than I meant it to. I'm sorry, what? My mother answered before the lawyer could. Kiara, we've thought this through as a family, she said. This is what makes the most sense. I wasn't part of that discussion. Natalie has been here, my father said quietly, still not looking at me. She's helped with the business. She's been present. And I haven't, my voice cracked. My mother let out a tired sigh. You chose to leave, Kiara. You chose your own path. Natalie chose family. My hands went cold. I looked at each of them, searching for something, hesitation, regret, anything at all. Mom, I didn't choose to leave, I said. I went to college. I built a career. You left when we needed you, she replied firmly. Natalie stayed. She sacrificed. She earned this. Earned what? I asked. Everything. Natalie finally spoke. Kiara, you have a good job. You're stable. You don't need this. That's not the point, I said, my voice shaking now, and I hated that it was. This isn't about need. This is about fairness, about family. Family is about being there, my mother cut in. You've always been difficult, Kiara, she continued, always questioning everything, always making things complicated. The word hit me like a slap. Difficult. I'm difficult because I went to college, I said. Because I built my own life? You're difficult because you only think about yourself, my mother said. When we needed help, you were in Charlotte. When the business was struggling, you were focused on your career. Natalie was here, working beside us every single day. My father nodded slowly. Your sister has proven herself, Kiara. We need someone dependable. Dependable. As if I had ever failed them when they actually asked. I thought about the student loans I'd paid off on my own. The graduation they never showed up for. The Thanksgiving where I worked a double shift just to afford a plane ticket home, only to sit through dinner listening to Natalie's accomplishments. We think you'll understand eventually, my mother added, her voice softening into something almost condescending. This is what's best for everyone. I looked at Natalie. She was staring into her coffee cup, silent. Do you have anything to say? I asked. She glanced up for a second. I think Mom and Dad have already made their decision. No defense, no objection, nothing. I stood up. Samuel Whitaker looked startled. Ms. Jackson, would you like to review the documents? He asked. You have the right to. No, thank you, I said quietly. I understand perfectly. My mother frowned. Kiara, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, Mom, I said. I'm just leaving. I picked up my purse and turned toward Natalie. She shifted in her seat, suddenly uncomfortable. I smiled at her, not bitter, not angry, just clear. Congratulations, Natalie, I said. I hope it all works out for you. Her eyes widened slightly. Kiara. I mean it, I said, I really do. My father stood up. Kiara, you're acting like we've wronged you, he said. This was a practical decision. The business needs continuity, and Natalie has everything now. I get it, Dad, I said. I looked at my mother one last time. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite name, part annoyance, part confusion, like I wasn't reacting the way she'd expected. You're being childish, she said. Maybe. I walked toward the door, then paused. Just out of curiosity, I said, turning back. What happened to Grandma Evelyn's money? She left a trust specifically for Natalie and me. equal shares. I remembered that clearly from the funeral. The room went completely still. My mother's face hardened. That money went toward family expenses, she said. The house, the business, things that benefited everyone, including you. It benefited the family, she repeated. I nodded slowly. Right, I said. The family. I opened the door. Kiara, my mother called after me. Don't leave like this. Don't act like you're the victim. I turned back to look at her. I'm not acting like anything, Mom, I said. I'm just going home. I walked out and closed the door behind me. The hallway was silent. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. I sat in my rental car in the parking lot for nearly 20 minutes before I could bring myself to start the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. You're overreacting. Call me when you calm down. I turned the phone face down. As I drove toward CLT Airport, something kept replaying in my mind. My mother's words. That money went toward family expenses. But that wasn't what Grandma Evelyn had said. I remembered the funeral clearly. I had been 28, still paying off student loans, still trying to prove myself. Grandma Evelyn was 85, sharp and clear right up until the end. 2 months before she died, at her birthday party, she had pulled me aside. I've set up a trust for you and Natalie, she said, holding my hand. Equal shares. I want both of you to have security. Grandma, you don't have to, I told her. It's already done, sweetheart, she said with a smile. My lawyer has everything arranged. $540,000, $270 for each of you. I hugged her, tears in my eyes. Thank you. Use it wisely, she said. You're smart. I'm proud of you. At the funeral, her lawyer, not Samuel Whitaker, someone else, briefly mentioned the trust. My parents told me they'd handle the details. They said I needed to get back to Charlotte for work. I never saw a single document. I never received a single dollar, and I never asked. I trusted them. By the time I boarded my flight, a plan was already forming. When I got home, I would search through my old emails. Grandma Evelyn's lawyer might have sent something years ago. A courtesy copy, maybe. I'd barely looked at it back then. I'd been too overwhelmed by grief. But I had saved it. I saved everything. I got home to Charlotte around 9 p.m., exhausted and numb. I dropped my bag by the door, made a cup of chamomile tea I never touched, and opened my laptop. My email archive went back 12 years. I searched for Evelyn May Carter, my grandmother's maiden name, the one she'd always used for legal documents. 43 results. I scrolled past birthday notes, forwarded recipes, old holiday photos. Then I saw it. Dated November 8th, 5 years ago. 2 weeks after her funeral. Subject: Estate documents. From Evelyn May Carter, Collins. Estate law. Dear Ms. Jackson, per your grandmother's instructions, please find attached a copy of her last will and testament for your records. If you have any questions regarding the distribution of assets, do not hesitate to contact our office. Sincerely, Hannah Collins, estate attorney. I clicked the attachment, a 23-page PDF. My hands started to shake as I scrolled through the legal language. Property disposition, personal effects. And then, on page 16, I found it. Section 7. Trust Fund Distribution. The sum of $540,000 held in trust at Redwood Trust Bank shall be divided equally between my granddaughters, Kiara Jackson and Natalie Jackson, each receiving $270,000. This distribution shall occur no later than 90 days following my death. Administered by Collins Estate Law, equal shares, no later than 90 days. I checked the date again, 5 years ago. I had never received anything. Not a check, not a call, not even a letter explaining where the money had gone. I read the paragraph 3 more times. Then I printed the entire document. I labeled the folder Grandma Evelyn's Will and placed it in my desk drawer. After that, I closed my laptop and sat alone in the dark. 2 weeks after the meeting at the lawyer's office, Natalie posted on Facebook. I was having coffee before work when the notification popped up. She had tagged me. The photo showed her standing in front of my childhood home, 915 Willow Ridge Drive, a glass of champagne raised in her hand. The caption read, "Officially mine. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for trusting me with our family legacy. Family is everything. 63 likes already." The comments kept coming. "So happy for you. You deserve it. Beautiful home, beautiful person." Then I saw one line that stopped me cold. My Aunt Lorraine had commented, "Your grandmother would be so proud." I stared at that sentence for a long time. My phone buzzed. A private message from Megan, a girl I'd known since high school. "Hey Kiara, I saw Natalie's post. Did, did your parents give her the house? Are you okay?" I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally I wrote, "I'm fine. Family dynamics are complicated. Happy for her." Megan replied almost immediately, "If you ever want to talk, I'm here." I liked the message. I didn't respond. Over the next week, Natalie posted 6 more times. A photo of her new office at Jackson Artisan Works. A picture of paperwork labeled Jackson Family Trust. A selfie with my parents captioned, "Grateful for their guidance and faith in me." There was no mention of me, not in the photos, not in the captions, not in the comments. It was like I'd been erased. My mother shared every post, adding her own messages. So proud of my Natalie. I didn't unfollow anyone. I didn't comment, I didn't react. But I did screenshot everything. Not because I planned to use it against anyone, but because I needed proof that this was real. That I wasn't imagining the quiet cruelty of being written out of my own family's story. 1 month after the meeting, my mother threw a party. I found out the same way everyone else did. Instagram. Natalie posted a video. String lights glowing in the backyard. Long tables covered in food. At least 30 people laughing, talking. A banner hung across the porch. "Congratulations, Natalie. New CEO. My sister was now the official head of Jackson Artisan Works. I watched the video 3 times. There was my father, raising a glass. My mother, beaming beside Natalie. Samuel Whitaker, the lawyer, holding a plate of appetizers. Cousins I'd grown up with. My uncle. Even Megan's mom, who had always been kind to me. Everyone we knew. No one had told me. The comments were overflowing. "What an amazing night. Natalie, you're going to do incredible things. So glad I could be there." Then my cousin Rachel commented, "Wait, was Kiara there?" "I didn't see her." Natalie replied, "She's really busy with work in Charlotte. Couldn't make it." I stared at the lie. Couldn't make it. As if I'd been invited and simply chosen not to come. My mother didn't correct her. Not once. Another video followed. Natalie stood in front of everyone, giving a speech. "I couldn't have done this without my parents' support," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "They believed in me when I needed it most. This business is our family's legacy, and I promise to honor it every single day." Applause filled the screen. People cheered. My father hugged her, tears in his eyes. I sat on my couch in Charlotte, hundreds of miles away, watching my family celebrate my official exclusion from their lives. My phone stayed silent all night. No text, no call, no wish you were here. I turned my phone off and went to bed. 3 months after the meeting with the lawyer, Natalie finally called. It was a Tuesday morning. I was reviewing a client's quarterly reports when her name lit up my screen. We hadn't spoken since the day I walked out of Samuel Whitaker's office. I almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "Kiara. Hi, it's Natalie." "I know." A pause. "How are you?" "I'm fine," I said. "What do you need?" She laughed awkwardly. "Straight to the point, huh? Look, I need to ask you something. It's kind of urgent." I waited. "The house needs a new roof," she said. "The inspector says it can't wait. There's water damage. I need to borrow $15,000. I blinked. "You need to borrow $15,000 from me?" "Just temporarily," she said quickly. "I'll pay you back in 3 months. Natalie, I said slowly, you have a trust fund worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Silence. Natalie? The money's tied up right now, she said. I made some investments, really good ones. They're just not liquid at the moment. What kind of investments? I asked. That's not really your concern, Kiara. My jaw tightened. You're asking to borrow $15,000, but you won't tell me why you can't access your own money. I'm asking because I'm your sister and I need help, she said, her voice sharpening. The roof is leaking. Do you want Mom and Dad's house to fall apart? Mom and Dad's house? I repeated. I thought it was your house now. You know what I mean. I took a breath. Natalie, I don't have $15,000 to lend you. Yes, you do, she snapped. You're an accountant. You make good money. I also have student loans, rent, and my own expenses. You've always been selfish, Kiara, she said. You know that. The line was so familiar it almost made me laugh. I'll remember you said that, I replied. Good luck with the roof. I hung up. 4 months after the meeting with the lawyer, my phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. Is this Kiara Jackson? Yes, I said. Who's calling? My name is Hannah Collins. I'm an estate attorney. I represent the Evelyn May Carter estate. I sat up straighter. My grandmother's lawyer. I'm calling because we're conducting an audit of asset distribution following Mrs. Carter's passing, she continued. According to our records, you were designated to receive $270,000 from her trust. Can you confirm whether you received those funds? My heart started pounding. No, I said. I never received anything. A pause. Nothing at all? She asked. No check, no wire transfer, no communication from our office or Redwood Trust Bank? Nothing, I said. My parents told me the money went toward family expenses. I heard typing on the other end of the line. Ms. Jackson, she said carefully. According to the trust documents, those funds were designated for you and your sister individually. They were not intended for general family use. I have a copy of the will, I said. I printed it from an email you sent me 5 years ago. Good, she replied. Please hold on to that. More typing. One more question, she said. Did you ever sign any documents releasing your claim to those funds? No, I said. I was never asked to sign anything. Did anyone from our office or the bank contact you about the distribution at all? No, I said. Just my parents telling me they'd handled everything. Hannah Collins was quiet for a moment. That's concerning, she said carefully. According to our records, the full amount was transferred to your father's account as trustee, with explicit instructions to distribute it to both granddaughters within 90 days. That was 5 years ago, I said. What does that mean? It means I need to contact your parents and your family's attorney immediately, she replied. Something is very wrong here. 3 days later, she called me back. Ms. Jackson, I've reviewed the trust distribution records. I need you to email me the copy of the will you mentioned. I sent it right away. Perfect, she said after a moment. This confirms what I suspected. Your grandmother's will clearly states equal distribution to you and Natalie. Your parents had no legal authority to redirect your portion. What happens now? I asked. I'll be reaching out to your parents and their attorney, she said. We'll need to address this formally. There may also be additional complications. What kind of complications? She hesitated. I've noticed irregular activity involving the trust funds that were transferred to Natalie, she said. Large withdrawals, transfers to unfamiliar accounts, there could be tax implications or other legal issues. I can't say more until I investigate further. My stomach dropped. Natalie's words echoed in my head. The money's tied up in investments. Ms. Jackson, Hannah continued, I want to be very clear. You've done nothing wrong. You are the victim of what appears to be misappropriation of estate funds. My responsibility now is to make sure you receive exactly what your grandmother intended. Do I need to do anything? I asked. Not yet, she said. I'll handle the legal outreach. I just need your permission to proceed on your behalf. You have it. Good, she replied. One more thing. Please don't discuss this with your family for now. If there are legal issues developing, I don't want anyone tampering with evidence or moving assets around. I understand. After we hung up, I sat at my desk staring at nothing. I hadn't wanted a fight. I hadn't wanted revenge. I just wanted the truth. And now, the truth was coming, whether my family was ready for it or not. Something in my gut told me that Natalie's so-called investments were about to become everyone's problem. Let me pause here for a moment. If you're still with me, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been treated unfairly by your own family? Have you ever had to choose between staying silent and standing up for what's right? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you think this story is worth sharing, please hit like and subscribe. It truly helps, because what happened next changed everything. 6 months after the meeting with the lawyer, everything exploded. I was in a client meeting, my phone face down on the table, when I felt it start vibrating, once, twice, 3 times in a row. I ignored it. The client was explaining their Q4 budget concerns, and I needed to focus, but the buzzing wouldn't stop. When the meeting finally ended an hour later, I picked up my phone and froze. 47 missed calls, 10 from my mother, 5 from my father, 32 from Natalie, and 23 text messages. The most recent was from my mother, sent 2 minutes earlier. "Kiara, answer your phone, emergency." My hands shook as I scrolled. "Call me now, please. This is serious. Why aren't you answering? We need you immediately." The last message was from Natalie, sent 60 seconds ago. "They're here. The Federal Financial Crimes Unit is here. Call me." My heart stopped. I stepped into an empty conference room and called my mother back. She answered on the first ring. "Kiara, oh my God, finally." "Mom, what's happening? What's going on?" She was crying, not quiet tears, gasping sobs. "They're here," she said. "They're at Natalie's house right now. They came with a warrant. They're taking computers, files, everything." "What?" I asked. "Why?" "They're saying something about embezzlement," she cried. "Money laundering." "Kiara, what did Natalie do with the trust fund money?" I gripped the edge of the table. "Mom, I didn't touch that money," I said. "I never received any of it." "But Natalie said—" She broke off. "Natalie said you reported her. She said this was your fault." "Mom, I didn't report anyone," I said slowly. "I don't even know what's happening." "They're questioning her right now," she sobbed. "They're showing her documents, transactions, account numbers. Kiara, they think she stole money, but from who? I don't know." She was hyperventilating now. "They mentioned fraud," she said. "International transfers. Some kind of investment scheme. Your father's been trying to reach his lawyer, but no one is answering." I could hear shouting in the background. My father's voice, angry, frantic. "Kiara, you have to help," he yelled. "You're an accountant, you understand this stuff. You can explain to them that Natalie didn't know." "Mom, stop," I said, my voice firmer than I'd ever used with her. "I can't help with this. I don't know anything about Natalie's finances." "But you work with the FBI on tax cases, don't you?" my mother cried. "No, Mom," I said. "I work with the Federal Revenue Bureau sometimes. That's completely different." "Well, you have to do something," she insisted. "She's your sister." "I'm not involved in this." There was a loud crash on the other end of the line, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. My mother screamed. "Mom?" I said. "Mom, what's happening?" "They're taking everything," she sobbed. "The computers, the filing cabinets, they're treating her like a criminal." My father's voice cut in, distant but sharp. "Yolanda, get off the phone. The lawyer said not to talk to anyone." "This is our daughter," my mother screamed back. Then into the phone. "Kiara, please, please help us. We don't know what to do." I closed my eyes. "Mom," I said slowly, "you need to hire a criminal defense attorney, not a family lawyer, a criminal attorney." "Criminal?" she gasped, breaking down again. "My baby girl isn't a criminal." "Then she'll need a lawyer to prove that," I said. "How can you be so cold?" she cried. I didn't have an answer. I hung up. The first thing I did was open my browser and type Federal Financial Crimes Unit Raid, Cary, North Carolina. The top result was a local news article posted 20 minutes earlier. Federal agents raid local business owner's home in financial fraud investigation. Federal agents executed a search warrant Friday morning at a residence in Cary, North Carolina, as part of an ongoing investigation into alleged money laundering and investment fraud. Sources say the investigation involves connections to an international investment scheme that defrauded victims of millions of dollars. The homeowner, whose identity has not yet been released pending charges, allegedly transferred over $680,000 into accounts linked to the scheme. Authorities are investigating whether the individual knowingly participated or was also a victim. I stared at the screen. The trust fund had been $860,000. Natalie had clearly spent, or transferred, most of it. I called Hannah Collins, my grandmother's estate attorney. Ms. Jackson, I was about to reach out to you, she said. Are you aware of what's happening with your sister? Yes, I said. My mother just called me in a panic. I want to reassure you right away, Hannah continued. You are not implicated in this in any way. The Federal Financial Crimes Unit contacted me yesterday to verify your portion of the trust. I confirmed that you never received your funds, and you've been formally cleared from the investigation. Relief washed over me. What happened? I asked. What did Natalie do? From what we can tell, she said, your sister was approached by an investment group promising unusually high returns. She transferred a substantial amount from the trust into their accounts. That group turned out to be a front for an international money laundering operation. Did she know? I asked quietly. That's what they're still determining, Hannah replied. If she didn't know, she may be considered a victim. If she ignored red flags or helped facilitate the transfers, she could face serious charges. I thought back to Natalie's evasive tone when she'd asked to borrow money. The money's tied up right now. How bad is this? I asked. Very, Hannah said. That night, Natalie called me. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying for hours. Kiara, please, she said. I need your help. I didn't know, she rushed on. I swear, I didn't know it was fake. He seemed completely legitimate. Documents, references, everything. What guy? I asked. Daniel R. Knox, she said. He told me he ran Knox Capital Group. He showed me portfolios, past returns. He said I could double the money in 2 years. I closed my eyes. Did you verify any of it? I asked. Did you check with the SEC? Talk to a financial advisor? He had a website, she said weakly. An office. Other investors. Silence. Did you check? I asked again. She didn't answer. Natalie, you moved over $600,000 without doing any real due diligence. I trusted him, she shouted. Then her voice dropped. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was growing the family's wealth. That wasn't family money, I said quietly. Half of it was mine. I was going to tell you, she cried. After it doubled, I was going to give you your share and more. That's not how this works. She broke down again. They're saying I could go to prison, Kiara. The agent told me if I cooperate, if I help them, I might avoid charges. But I need a lawyer, and lawyers are expensive, and You had $860,000, I said. I don't anymore, she sobbed. It's gone. It's all in Daniel Knox's accounts, and they're frozen. I can't access anything. What about the house? She continued frantically. The business? We'll have to sell them to pay for a lawyer. Her voice cracked. Kiara, you're an accountant. You understand this. Can you come here? Can you explain to them that I didn't know? That I'm not a criminal? Natalie, I said, I can't do that. Why not? She snapped. You're my sister. Because I don't know if you're telling me the truth. The line went dead. The next morning, my father called. Kiara, we need to talk about what you're going to tell the FBI. I'm not telling them anything, Dad, I said. I'm not involved. You could help, he pressed. You could vouch for Natalie's character. Character references don't matter in fraud investigations, I replied. They care about evidence. Then help us find evidence, he said. Go through the documents. You're trained for this. I'm an accountant, I said, not a criminal defense investigator. His voice hardened. Why are you being so stubborn? I'm not being stubborn, I said evenly. I'm protecting myself. From what? He snapped. From your own family? From legal liability, I replied. If I get involved and say the wrong thing, I could be called as a witness. I could be subpoenaed. This is serious. Your sister is facing prison, he said. I closed my eyes. I know, I said, and I'm sorry. But 2 years ago, I warned you about financial irregularities in the business. I told you something was off. Silence. Do you remember what Mom said? I continued. She said I was paranoid. She said I was making things complicated. You all shut me down. That was different, my father said. It wasn't different, Dad, I replied. You didn't want to hear it then. And now you want my help. After you gave Natalie everything and left me with nothing. We gave her responsibility, he argued. That's not the same, I said. You gave her my inheritance. Grandma Evelyn's money was supposed to be split equally. You let Natalie take all of it and use it however she wanted. Now it's gone, and you're surprised. We thought we were doing the right thing, he said quietly. For who? I asked. He didn't answer. I'm sorry this is happening, I said, my voice softer now. I really am, but I can't fix this. Natalie made her choices. Now she has to face the consequences. My father's tone turned cold. You've become very hard, Kiara. No, I said. I've become honest. He hung up. Let me pause here again and ask you something. Do you think I should have helped them? Is there a point where forgiveness turns into letting people take advantage of you? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe. We're almost at the end, and you'll want to hear how this all turned out. Let's keep going. That evening, I sat down and wrote an email. I chose every word carefully. This wasn't about anger, it was about clarity. To Leonard Jackson, Yolanda Jackson, Natalie Jackson. Subject, my position. Mom, Dad, and Natalie, I want to be very clear about my role in the current situation. I am not involved in any way with Natalie's financial decisions or with the investigation surrounding them. I have not reported anyone to any authorities. I have only provided truthful information to estate attorneys regarding Grandma Evelyn's will when they contacted me. I understand that this is an incredibly difficult time for all of you. I am genuinely sorry that Natalie is facing legal trouble. I don't wish harm on anyone in this family, but I cannot, and will not, involve myself in this case. I'm not qualified to help with criminal defense matters, and doing so would put me at legal risk. 2 years ago, I tried to warn you about financial irregularities. I was dismissed. I tried to be part of this family's decisions. I was excluded. I'm not trying to punish anyone now. I'm simply protecting myself and respecting the boundaries you set when you decided I wasn't part of this family's future. I hope you find a good attorney. I hope Natalie cooperates fully with the investigation. I hope this resolves as fairly as possible, but I will not be participating. I wish you all the best. Kiara. I read the email 3 times. Then I hit send. My mother replied within 5 minutes, "You're heartless." My father didn't reply at all. Natalie wrote, "I'll never forgive you for this." I closed my laptop. I didn't respond to any of them. I had said everything I needed to say. 2 months later, the news broke publicly. Local business owner charged in connection with investment fraud scheme. Natalie Jackson, 37, of Cary, North Carolina, has been charged with participation in a fraudulent financial operation. Prosecutors allege that Jackson transferred over $680,000 into accounts linked to an international money laundering scheme. According to court records, investigators with the Federal Financial Crimes Unit determined that the funds originated from a family trust. Jackson's attorney maintains that she was a victim of the scheme and cooperated fully with investigators. As part of a plea agreement, Jackson will avoid jail time, but must pay $230,000 in fines, complete court-mandated community service, and will be prohibited from managing investment accounts for 5 years. Jackson Artisan Works and Jackson's personal residence at 915 Willow Ridge Drive have been listed for sale to cover legal fees and restitution costs. I read the article 3 times. No prison. That much was true. But Natalie's life, as she had known it, was over. The business my father had spent 3 decades building, gone. The house I grew up in, gone. The trust Grandma Evelyn had carefully saved over a lifetime, gone. And in our small community, my family's reputation was quietly destroyed. I searched Facebook. Natalie's account was gone. My mother's profile was still there, but set to private. Every congratulatory post from that party had disappeared. There was one new message in my inbox, from my Aunt Lorraine. I always knew something was off. "I'm sorry you were cut out, Kiara. You deserved better." I didn't reply. I wasn't celebrating. I felt no satisfaction. No sense of victory. Just a deep, aching sadness that it had come to this. My family had made their choices. They decided I wasn't worth including, wasn't worth trusting, wasn't worth an equal share. Now they were paying the consequences of those choices. But so was I, because even though I'd been right, I'd still lost my family. 3 weeks after Natalie's sentencing, Hannah Collins called again. "Ms. Jackson, I have good news." My heart skipped. "What does that mean?" "The court has approved the redistribution of your grandmother's estate according to the original will." I sat up straighter. "And?" "You'll receive your designated portion," she said. $270,000. She paused. "Unfortunately, because Natalie spent a significant amount before the accounts were frozen, only part of the trust could be recovered. But your portion remains intact." $270,000. Money I should have received 5 years ago. Money that could have paid off my student loans sooner, helped me buy a home, given me security when I needed it most. "There's one more thing," Hannah added. "You have the legal right to sue your parents and Natalie for the full amount, plus interest and damages. Given the facts, you would likely win." I stared out my apartment window at the Charlotte skyline. "How long would that take?" I asked. 2 to 3 years, she said. "Possibly longer if they contest it." "And how much would I actually recover?" "That's hard to say," she replied. "They're selling assets now to cover Natalie's fines and legal fees. There may not be much left." I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. "I don't want to sue," I said. There was a pause on the line. "Ms. Jackson, you're legally entitled to pursue this," Hannah Collins replied. "I know," I said, "but I don't want to spend the next 3 years fighting my own family in court. I just want what Grandma Evelyn intended for me to have. $270,000. That's enough." She was quiet for a moment. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "All right," she said. "I'll process the paperwork. You should receive the funds within 30 days. "Thank you," I said, "for everything." "You're welcome, Kiara," she replied. "Your grandmother would be proud of how you handled this." I hoped she was right. The money arrived on a Thursday morning in October. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the number on my screen. $270,000. I waited for something to hit me. Relief, joy, vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. The first message in 2 months. "I see you got the money. I hope you're happy now." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "We were wrong." Not, "We should have treated you fairly from the beginning." Just accusation. Just bitterness. I didn't respond. Natalie never contacted me at all. 3 days later, my father sent a single text. "Your mother is very hurt. I hope you know that." Again, I didn't reply. But my cousin Melissa reached out. "Hey, Kiara. I heard what happened. I always thought it was unfair how they treated you. I'm glad you got what Grandma left you. You deserved it." That message made me cry more than anything else had in months. A week later, Megan, the friend from high school, texted me. I don't know the whole story, but I do know your family hasn't been fair to you for years. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. That takes courage. And that's when I realized something. The people who truly cared about me, the ones who saw me clearly, had been on the sidelines all along. They'd witnessed the quiet cruelty, the constant dismissiveness, the way I was always made to feel like I was never quite enough. And now, they were saying what my parents never would. You deserved better. I realized I didn't need my family's apology, I needed my own peace. And for the first time in months, sitting alone in my small apartment with those kind messages glowing on my screen, I felt something close to it. I spent the next 2 weeks thinking carefully about what to do with the money. The first thing I did was pay off my student loans, all $52,000 of them. I clicked pay in full and watched the balance drop to zero. For the first time since I was 22, I owed nothing. Next, I put a down payment on a small one-bedroom condo in Charlotte. Nothing flashy, nothing extravagant. Just a place that was mine. A place no one could take from me. Then I did something that felt right in a way I couldn't fully explain. I contacted Eastbridge University and set up a scholarship fund in my grandmother's name. The Evelyn May Carter Scholarship for first-generation college students. $60,000. Enough to provide $6,000 a year to students who, like me, were doing it alone. Students whose families couldn't or wouldn't help. Students who just needed someone to believe in them. The rest, about $115,000, I put into savings, not for anything specific, just for security, for breathing room, for the future. I didn't buy a new car. I didn't take a luxury vacation. I didn't post a single thing about it online. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table in my new condo, drinking tea and looking out at the city. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Freedom. That night, I wrote a letter I never sent. Dear Grandma Evelyn, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for seeing me as someone worth investing in, even when my own parents couldn't. I'm using your gift the way you hoped I would. Not just for myself, but to help others the way you helped me. I miss you. I love you. And I promise to make you proud. Kiara. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. 6 months after moving into my condo, I sat by the window on a quiet Saturday morning and thought back to that day in the lawyer's office. The day my parents handed my sister everything and labeled me difficult. The day I smiled, stood up, and walked away. For a long time, I believed that moment was my lowest point, the ultimate rejection. But now I understood something different. That moment wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of my freedom, because walking away from that table meant I stopped waiting for them to recognize my worth. I stopped trying to earn approval that was never coming. I stopped shrinking myself to fit into a family that had never made room for me. Did I wish things had been different? Of course. Did I wish my parents had loved Natalie and me equally? Every single day. But wishing doesn't change reality. And the reality was this. My family made their choices long before I ever left that room. They decided who mattered and who didn't. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't my responsibility to fix. And it was never my job to set myself on fire just to keep them warm, especially when they had never once offered me a match. Some people believe I should have helped Natalie when everything fell apart. That family means showing up no matter what. But I learned something I'll carry with me forever. Love without respect isn't love. It's exploitation. And boundaries aren't cruelty. They're self-preservation. I didn't win. Not really. I didn't get my family back. I didn't get an apology. I didn't get validation. But I got something better. I got myself back. The version of me who knows her value doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. The version who can sit in a quiet room and actually feel at peace. That's not the kind of winning you see in movies, but it's the only kind that truly matters. If there's one thing I hope you take from my story, it's this. Boundaries aren't cruel, they aren't selfish, and they don't mean you don't love someone. Boundaries are how you teach people how to treat you. For years, I accepted being treated as less than, because I believed that was the price of family. I thought if I just kept showing up, kept being patient, kept proving myself, eventually they'd see me. But people who don't want to see you never will. And that isn't your failure, it's theirs. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean accepting their mistreatment. It doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity just to keep a relationship alive, and it doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do, for them and for yourself, is to step back and let people face the natural consequences of their choices. I didn't report my sister. I didn't sabotage my family. I didn't seek revenge. I simply stopped protecting them from themselves. And when the truth came out, when Natalie's decisions caught up with her, when my parents' favoritism left them with nothing, I didn't celebrate. But I also didn't rush in to fix it, because fixing it would have required betraying myself all over again. And I was done doing that. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. You decide who gets to walk through. You decide what behavior you'll accept and what you won't. You decide when enough is enough. And if people call you difficult for having standards, let them. Their opinion of you is not your responsibility. Your peace is. I chose peace. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to set boundaries with people you love, leave a comment below. You're not alone. Please like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this one, and check the description for resources on family boundaries and financial protection. I'll see you in the next video. And I am Kiara. I discovered my own worth before expecting others to recognize it. Thank you.